What's going on, everyone? In today's episode, I'm going to show you a super simple guide to pruning your grapes. Contrary to popular belief, you can't just go out, grow grapes and let them go wild and expect much. Now, you can do that, but you can't expect a whole lot. That's the real truth and reality behind growing grapes, is they do take some hands-on maintenance, but contrary to popular belief as well, they're not that hard to maintain. A lot of people overcomplicate it, and so in today's episode, we're going to break it down so you can grow better, healthier grape plants right at your own home. The first thing that I want to do is I want to break down the anatomy of a grape plant, because when you're looking at your grape plants, it kind of can look a little bit overwhelming, especially if your grape plant is pretty developed and mature. Ours are newly planted, so they haven't really had a chance to get all wild and crazy. But some people, they inherit a grape plant and it's growing up along a trellis or might be growing along the side of a fence, and it looks like an absolute mess. And that's because it is. But once you actually can assess the anatomy of a grape plant, it can help to kind of sort out some of that mess, so it's a little easier to start pruning. So when you're looking at the anatomy of a grape plant, you have a couple different terms that you need to know so you can kind of better organize your plant and what you're looking at here. So the base of the plant is at the very bottom, and that's known as the trunk. Now the trunk will actually expand much like a tree will. The older the grapevine, the larger the trunk will be. And you really only want one trunk, because if you have more than one, it's going to separate and split off into multiple different growth points, and that's going to be kind of messy. So you want to make sure most plants, if you've planted them yourself, the nursery where you get them is going to already have them narrowed down to one main growth trunk or growth stem. But if you have inherited one, that might not be the case. And so make sure you have one main growth stem, because then from there, it's really going to make sorting out your plant pretty simple. From that point, anything that grows up can be broken down into two different classifications of growth. You have ladders and you have runs. Runs go horizontal, ladders grow up. And so anything that is growing horizontally across these supports becomes a run. And depending on how tall your trellis is, will kind of depend on how many runs you have. The reason why I really like these wire trellises and wire supports, and why a lot of people that grow grapes professionally will choose to go with these wire runs here, is because it can really keep things nice and orderly. On a fence, it can just kind of go everywhere and sprawl. And you really have a harder time defining. It's not impossible, but you ultimately then have to be the one to pick and say, I want this to be a run. And you have to really pick that to be your run, because then any other smaller growth that grows up or down is known as a ladder. Those are vertical growth points, which are eventually going to give you fruit. So we're ready to start pruning. And the first thing you need to understand about pruning grapes is that you cannot break the golden rule of pruning, which is to try to force a run. Now, forcing a run is basically where you have a run that is kind of growing out into no man's land, but it's really tall. And you say to yourself, like, this is a run right here, right? This run was growing along, and then it grew up, and it's just super long. It is very common for people growing grapes that are beginners to simply take this and just say, well, I'm gonna just kind of stuff it up here. Or if you have a really long one like this, and just say, yeah, I could get up to the top rung by just doing that. And you could. The problem is you're forcing a run. What you want to happen is you want to naturally prune your runs, and this is going to take time. If you think that you're going to plant grapes the first year and instantly have a trellis full, you'd be sorely mistaken. You're going to end up with an absolute mess and really poor grape production. So what you should do is, from the main growth stem, that's the trunk, it's going to grow up and it's going to find the first rung on your support, and those are the first runs that you want to prioritize. From there, you really only want about 2 runs, one going in this direction, one going in that direction. Everything else can go. So if it seems like you're going to do a lot of pruning, you'd be correct. And so we have a run that is growing out that is not going anywhere. Some dead growth, that can go. Another run, that can go. We have here this one and this one. There's 3 different runs here. So I'm gonna leave those because those are kind of chaotic, but there's a lot going on over there to address. We'll address that in a second. Over here, we got this really long run. It's too long. It goes over into this other trellis. And so we're gonna prune it and we're gonna keep it contained. It is totally okay to keep runs contained because over time, they will also get thicker, just like the trunk will with age. And so we're gonna basically just keep this plant contained so that it's not growing over there. From that point, that is where these runs form new ladders. And you can see here a prime example. This run formed an upward shoot that then climbed onto this upper rung here. It makes no sense for us to take this and throw it up here just because it was never intended to be a ladder. It is a rung, or it's a run, I should say. So over here, we're gonna take out that ladder because we already have one ladder. This ladder right here is going to fill up this and it's going to become next year's run. Hopefully I'm not losing you guys because it does get a little bit confusing, but this right here, it is growing up and it's gonna fill this out. At that point, once this starts to climb and it fills up this, we're gonna prune that and it's gonna form next year's growth. It's going to form the following year's ladders, which are gonna come up here and get on this rung. And that is how we progress. It's gonna take 3 to 5 years for you to fill up your trellis with nice, full developed, well-pruned growth. It's not gonna happen over the course of a year. So we're just gonna come in here, we're gonna keep pruning this stuff out here. And with most plants, people would say don't prune off more than about 30%. When it comes to grapevines, you can prune 50 to 60% very easily because they produce so much excess growth, and that excess growth leads to things like disease. So you wanna make sure that you have a run going this way and a run going this way, a ladder growing up and a ladder growing up, and you can fill this up with 2 runs each. Ladder, ladder, run, run, ladder, ladder, run, run. Everything else gets pruned within the confines of the posts. So once we were able to kind of address this mess here, we found out there was 2 runs that were just growing into, again, no man's land. I mean, they're taller than, 6, 7 feet tall. But we're gonna prune those out because we really just don't need those, and those are gonna be further adding to our mess. So those are gone there. We have a run over here. That's gone there. Okay, so now the next thing is we have this run over here that is growing just far too long. We're gonna take it, we're gonna cap it so it's within the confines of the posts. And now we're met with another question, and this is, well, what if, okay, so we're not forcing runs, right? But what if I have a ladder that would become a run, but it hasn't clung yet? That's fine. You see, it's following this natural structure. And so all along the stem here, you're going to have new growth points. Those growth points are going to be ladders. They might point down, they might point up. Next year, your plants are going to form dozens, several dozens ladders. Some will form fruit, and that's why you want to keep all your ladders. At the point at which they're not going to fruit, then you can decide which ones go and which ones can go up, or which ones can literally go like to the compost pile. And so this right here is a great example of something that I really want to keep because it's growing up. It just hasn't attached yet to this rung. So I want to make this a run, but it's down here. And because it's down here at this lower level and it's truly a ladder, it's that extra growth growing off of a run, I'm just going to tuck it up here and I'm going to take some of its tendrils. When they're still green, they can be kind of molded around almost like clay. And I'm just gonna hook it up there like that. And in no time at all, this is then going to find this run right here, and it's naturally going to go across. And that is totally okay. That is how it should be. Now, since we're out of the fruiting season for grapes are starting to ripen this time of year, not form, I know that any other ladders that are here can get pruned off. There's no point because next year, they're just gonna start to grow and it's gonna be a viney mess. They're not producing any fruit for me. And so I'm gonna clip off that. I'm gonna clip off that one. I'm gonna clip off that one. And just like suckers on a tomato, we wanna remove all those because next year, like I said, they're just gonna turn into ladders that wanna grow and vine all over the place. So we're just gonna clean this up. And you can see it's a very aggressive pruning. It's not like an apple tree or a pear tree where we are very careful about our pruning. You wanna be very aggressive because this is a vine. And it's an aggressive growing vine that will triple, quadruple in size over the course of a growing season. And if you don't keep it in check, it'll run rampant. So this is looking awesome. I have the trunk, I have the run, I have the ladder growing up, and that's becoming the new run on the support. And I can approve of that. So we're just wrapping up, cleaning up this grapevine over here. And I gotta say, I'm really happy with how it's turning out. Now, I think one of the biggest, concerns people have, and one of the biggest things they notice is, holy cow, it looks like my plant is completely bare. And my response to that would be, yes, that's actually very good. Because the thing is that you want order, you want your plant to be orderly, otherwise it's absolute chaos. And so in a lot of cases, we try to kind of superimpose our ideas of what a healthy plant looks like on our garden, when in fact, this is going to be far healthier. All of this open, bare stem here is going to increase airflow. Too much foliage looks healthy, but in fact it's not healthy, especially on domesticated grapes, which are very prone to things like rust, powdery mildew, and other forms of blights, which can be cured with a basic fungicide. We're gonna spray these plants down with some copper fungicide as we get in late fall to kind of keep that down. But the more airflow you have, the healthier the plant's going to be. The more airflow you have, the better your fruit is gonna ripen. The more airflow you have, the more organized and easy the plant is gonna be to maintain. And so yes, it looks completely naked right now. It looks completely bare. But that's what I was saying. That's the aggressive pruning where 60 to 75% of these plants have been pruned and they're on the ground. And these plants are gonna be better off because of it. And the great thing is the fact we have good form here, that this is going to form an eventual ladder that's gonna become a run. This right here, I'm gonna prioritize this to become a ladder, which is gonna be a run. And next year, this will be all full and we're gonna be off to the races. This one over here has awesome formation. It's got a great start, and that's okay. It's not about how fast you have a grape plant, because you have to remember, grape plants grow very fast, but it's no different than if we planted an apple tree or a pear tree. And what they say is the best time to plant an apple tree was 15 years ago. The next best time is tomorrow. And so when you're looking at grape plants, there are many vineyards that are 75, 100, 200 years old. And those grape plants have been properly maintained and carefully maintained. And as long as they're carefully maintained, they will stand the test of time. And it's very important that you realize that as well, that this whole thing is not going to be built in a year. It's just not possible. And you're going to end up with unhealthy, unmanaged plants. And so I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you all learned something new. If you have any questions, make sure to post them in the comments box down below. Let me know if this was shocking to you or not. And yeah, as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow bigger. Take care. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, consider clicking this one. You'll probably enjoy it just as much. I want to thank you for your viewership, because without it, this channel would not be as amazing as it is. Also, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It's free, and we upload videos every Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. We also have vegetable seeds, fertilizer, or tools. If you need any of those, consider visiting MIgardener.com. Links will be in the description box below. We've got you covered. And as always, we'll see you all in the garden. Take care. Bye.